Hey, hey, hey. Happy Wednesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, interestingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. Welcome aboard, everyone. Tonight is Wednesday, October 1st, 2025. This is live stream 1243. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual around here. Normally, I'll take a first look at a game. Sometimes I unbox a board game. More often than not, I will actually be taking a peek at a role-playing game release. Every once in a while, I'll just tackle a topic related to our hobby, and every blue moon, I might just share the news and then hang out and chew the fat with chat. So tonight, we're going to dive on in. We are going to take a first look at World of Battlezoo, Indigo Isles. From Roll for Combat, we're going to take a look at the 5e D&D edition. It is also available for Pathfinder 2nd edition as well. So that is coming up in just a bit. If you're tuning in for the first look, I do want to let you know we always tackle the tabletop gaming news first around here. So it's probably going to be 35, maybe 40 minutes before we dive on into that look into Indigo Isles. So if you're watching live, just kick back, put your feet up, relax. We'll get to it. Now, of course, if you're watching after the fact, maybe even on Memorex, there will be timestamps. You can find those timestamps down in the show notes, or depending on the device you might be using to watch this, might be right there in the timeline of the video. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And then, of course, because this is a live show, there is chat available. You must be a subscriber for at least an hour before you can take part in chat. So if you happen to fit that criteria, if you've been a subscriber for at least 60 minutes, you want to say howdy, maybe get a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my absolute best to respond. First out the gate tonight is the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D. She is one of our chat moderators. She of the glittery banhammer. Roger Perdome is with us, as is Keithulhu, Semper Buffo, Kathy Evans, and Pete's Draculich. So welcome aboard, everyone. Let's dive right on into the news, because the Cohort's Cthulhu Player's Guide is arriving in stores later this month from Modiphius Entertainment. Here's what I know. Rise up against the gods themselves. Welcome to an epic struggle of heroic mortals pitting blade, spear, and bow against the claws and tentacles of eldritch horrors from beyond the stars. These hidden wars in the shadows of ancient Rome are all that safeguards humanity from oblivion. Enter a world of stalwart Roman legionnaires, brave Germanic, Gaelic, and Celtic warriors, or Celtic, as I prefer to say, but people bust my chops when I say Celtic. Shrewd schemers from Greece and Britannia, and valiant archers and mystics from lands like Parthia, Egyptus, and the island of Hibernia. Embody these heroes and forge unlikely bonds with former enemies to confront the cult of Mormo, minions of Nyarlathotep and Yog-Sothoth, and other nefarious cabals. Miko skitter voraciously through the tunnels of lost mines, while deep ones lurk beneath the waves, seeking sacrifices. Answer the call of secret organizations like the Fingers of Dawn and Temporary, who possess the knowledge and will to defy the malevolent gods. These groups offer the secrets of mystic arts and access to the legendary weapons of Atlantis. Your enemies wield dark magics and profaned relics, their minds corrupted by the whispers of beings like Sarthothus, a shattered god whose divided mind lurks within the very weapons you require to defeat the cults, inviting humanity's doom. Can you prevail against overwhelming odds, or will you succumb, like so many others, to Mythos forces that thrive on conflict and war? This is your story. The 224-page full-color hardcover Cohor's Cthulhu Player's Guide includes the full 2d20 rules for playing, you guessed it, Cohor's Cthulhu, including Fortune and Omens, Reach and Guard, Arms and Armor, Mounts and Vehicles, and secondary characters. The Path of Heroes. Build your unique heroic character, choosing from 6 cultures: Roman, Germanic, Egyptian, Gaelic, Greek, and Foederati. 10 backgrounds, 6 archetypes: mystic, sage, schemer, scoundrel, scout, and soldier. And 12 specializations to use secret truths, hidden talents, and campfire tales to save decisions to be revealed later. A powerful magical system embedded in the cultures of the era with 3 types of spellcasting: runic, oracular, and Celtic or Celtic. A rich setting overview including correspondence and rumors, life in the empire and provinces, religious pantheons, and timelines. This 224-page hardcover with PDF will carry an MSRP of $47 when it lands in stores on October 17th. The PDF is available right now over at DriveThruRPG for $20. Well. You may recall there is a Cohor's Cthulhu Miniatures game, which is also from Modiphius Entertainment. I gotta say, I'm not sure if that's out yet. I know it kickstarted. I'm not sure if that actually came out. I know this was a separate Kickstarter, I seem to recall. Semper Buffo says they're still waiting for their pledge on Cohors. They also said they plan to use this with the source books of Lex Arcana. Very nice. From Acheron Games. On our next news piece, Phantasy Star Tabletop Role-Playing is available in PDF for Skydawn Game Studios, and this is what I know. Gather your party and embark on epic quests to safeguard the galaxy from cosmic threats, tyrannical empires, and ancient evils. Officially licensed by Sega, Phantasy Star Tabletop Role-Playing contains everything you need to create heroic characters and epic tales of cosmic fantasy set in the worlds of Phantasy Star. The game is packed with character options, gear, fearsome foes, and deadly techniques, inspired by the popular video game series. The Galactic Lore section contains information on characters, locations, and events that comprise the entire Phantasy Star universe. Character options are inspired by the popular Phantasy Star Japanese role-playing games and Phantasy Star Online. Forge your own galactic hero or bring your favorite iconic characters into your world. Familiar, streamlined D20 mechanics with series-inspired innovations such as fate points, item grades, and combo attacks. Explore the worlds of Phantasy Star. There's a hearty bestiary filled with classic monsters from the games and rules for creating and customizing your own. A versatile starship travel and combat system powered by rules from the Esper Genesis RPG. There's a lore section with detailed timeline, locations, and an overview of the classic games from the original series to Phantasy Star Online. The 228-page PDF is available right now for DriveThruRPG. I have to be honest, I don't know if this is planned for a physical release or not. I popped over to this website for the publisher. No indications at all if this is going to be something that you could order a physical book for. Now, that's not to say that we might not see it as print on demand from DriveThruRPG. That is certainly a possibility, but it is not available as of yet. Troy Cornelson and Kevin R. Smith are with us in chat, as is Sean O'Donnell chiming on in. On to our next news piece. Bundle of Holding is offering the 5e Treasures Bundle, and I've got the deets on the deal. Adventurer. This all-new 5e Treasures Bundle presents sourcebooks bursting with a hoard of wondrous treasures for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and compatible tabletop role-playing systems. Supplements like Vault of Magic, Ultimate Treasury, and Wondrous Tome of Wands bring wild surprises to your gaming table, from commonplace items that could become a campaign staple to mysterious rings and potions to technomantic weapons and armor to oils, ointments, and poisons your characters can craft from plants they forage for themselves. With the thousands of eldritch items in this 5e Treasures offer, you'll never wonder what your heroes will uncover in their next piles of loot. For just $24.95, you'll get all 6 complete 5th edition sourcebooks in the 5e Treasury, which has a retail value of $126, as DRM-free PDFs, including Herbarium, a botanical 5e supplement, and Hag's Bazaar, Tome of Intangible Treasures, Ultimate Treasury, Vault of Magic, and Wondrous Tome of Wands. And also included for free is a preview of the upcoming 5e sourcebook, Man's Magnificent, which will be launching soon on Kickstarter. These savings will run through October 20th. So loads of items to bring to your game table for 5e. Runeforged Tabletop Gaming has landed in chat just in time for our next news piece, because Shadows of Camelot is now available in print from the aforementioned Runeforged Tabletop Gaming. Here's the latest. Shadows of Camelot is a noble, dark campaign setting that integrates the stories of King Arthur and Robin Hood with Shadow Dark's default setting. It's designed to take characters from levels 1 through 10. Shadows of Camelot is an 82-page hardcover book or fully hyperlinked PDF with everything you need to run a post-Arthurian campaign in the realm of Albion, including 27 thematic points of interest, including the mysterious Isle of Avalon and the crumbling ruins of Camelot. Dozens of new and familiar foes, including the Green Knight, the Questing Beast, and the fell enchantress Morgana Le Fay. Several powerful new magical items, including Merlin's Staff, a cursed Excalibur, and the legendary Divine Chalice, which I believe you and I would call the Holy Grail. A level 1 adventure, Tomb of the Headless Knight, designed to introduce players to the realm of Albion. Rules for Charity, a replacement for carousing that better fits the noble dark tone of the setting. A concise overview of Albion's relevant history, including the fall of Camelot and its aftermath. 37 pieces of incredible old-school inspired art from a variety of talented artists. This also includes player and GM-facing maps as standalone images, or image files if you're getting the digital offerings, for both the region of Albion itself and the dungeon featured in the Level 1 adventure. This 82-page A5-sized hardcover with PDF is available by way of DriveThruRPG for $29.25. If you want to just get the PDF alone, you can do so for $14.99. And I will say, we will be getting to take a look at this and another release from Runeforged Tabletop Gaming in the not-too-distant future. That's right. Yes, it's going to be heading my way. Now, it is coming from DriveThruRPG. DriveThruRPG takes a little bit of time to get stuff out. I've noticed from items that have been shipped from them in the past. But as soon as we see it show up, we will get it into the queue for us to take a live first look at here on The Dispatch. Looks pretty cool. It looks pretty cool. And I don't know, Shadow Dark, what can I tell you? Little post-Arthurian legend for Shadow Dark. Sounds like a plan. Let's talk about our final news piece. Dungeons Deep is now available in PDF from Kobold Press. Here's the lowdown. In a world of high fantasy adventure, actually, maybe I should try to channel that voiceover artist who I don't recall their name. I know they've passed. In a world of high fantasy adventure. Not even close. Every crumbling ziggurat, abandoned mine, or unassuming hole in the ground is a potential dungeon. Dungeons Deep delivers 16 drop-in dungeons designed to fit neatly into your D&D campaign, or to quickly expand an existing dungeon of your own design. Unleash your crack team of Dungeoneers and enjoy the show. Dungeons Deep is an essential addition to your GM library. Challenge players with 16 prepared dungeons stocked with loot, traps, factions, and plenty of enemies. Each dungeon offers tiered monster loadouts for low, medium, and high-level PCs. So you really have 48 options available. Explore ruined temples, slime-filled caverns, a Feywild oasis, and more. Run them as written or pick what works with your campaign and leave the rest. These dungeons are ready. Your heroes might not be. The 176-page PDF is available now at DriveThruRPG for $19.99. You can still pre-order the hardcover over at Kobold Press for $39.99. And I will take a guess. This is another item that we will probably have an opportunity to get a first-hand look at if my friends over at Kobold Press send it along. I would think this should be out about a month and a half. That's usually about the time frame we look at from when Kobold Press releases a PDF till it actually gets a print edition in stores, or at least shipping to stores. Keith Ulu asks, Gary Owens? No. Although Gary Owens was famous for voiceover, but he was more television voiceover. Yes. Trying to think of a movie that right off the top of my head that voiceover artist did. I don't recall, but you know what I'm talking about. In a world where... Alrighty, that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I mentioned DriveThruRPG quite a few times. Don't forget, the gaming gang, thus The Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, DriveThruRPG, Storyteller's Vault, Dungeon Masters Guild, Wargame Vault, any of those, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I will get a small portion of that sale. All those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Of course, if you like the video... No, I'm not hitchhiking. If you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you feel the Gaming Gang is a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always support the outlet in a couple of other ways outside of those affiliate links. First, by making a one-time donation by way of PayPal. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Tastes like a Cubs victory tomorrow. Or not. or you can become a monthly member of our Patreon. Of course, you'll find links to that down in the show notes. Also in the show notes, you'll find an invite link to our Discord server, absolutely free to sign up and come on and hang with the gang over on Discord. The evil and diabolical Steven from Roll for Combat has joined us. Yeah, said, what is this? I saw my graphic. We're taking a look at Indigo Isles. It's our first look tonight. Yes. Agile Monk is also popping on in. I think we had a couple more people jumping on in. Max Apocalypse is also with us. There you go. Kevin R. Smith says, Don LaFontaine was the voiceover guy who made In a World. Yes, that is exactly who I'm thinking of. And then there was also an African-American actor. He was kind of a character actor, but he also did a lot of movie trailer voiceover. He did the voiceover for Jaws. I don't recall his name either, but he was also an actor because I remember seeing him in films and I was like, wait a second. Isn't that trailer voice guy? Keith Lewis said they picked up the Pathfinder 2 version of Jewel of the Indigo Isles at Gen Con. Had Stephen and Mark sign it for them as well. Sweet. I was over by the Roll for Combat booth a couple of times, and it was weird because Stephen and Mark were forcing people to take these signed books. I was like, gee, are you trying to tell me that people can't get these books unsigned? And it was like, no. Joking. So yes, Agile Monk points out James Earl Jones was the voice of CNN, and they still play that This Is CNN, which they stopped doing for a long time. And then James Earl Jones passed away. And then suddenly it's like, oh, okay, we'll start playing it again. Maybe it's because they don't have to pay him anymore. Oh, I don't know. I do not know. So, yes. All right. Well, Willona's Cave is popping on into chat. We got a nice chat rocking and rolling tonight. W4 says it was Percy Rodriguez who did the Jaws trailer. Wow, that was his name? Max Apocalypse says it's like trying to avoid a Stan Lee signature as the decades rolled on. I don't know about that. It wasn't that easy to get a legitimate signed item where you were standing there and Stan signed it. There was a lot of auto signature stuff going on. Yes. In fact, if you go to thegaminggang.com, there's actually an article from about, gosh, it's got to be 10 years ago, maybe even more than that, where my brother wrote, is it better to get book comics signed or not signed? And it all depends on the collector. Some collectors love signed books. Other collectors do not want anything on those covers. They want those covers to be pristine. Max Apocalypse says, oh no, not the auto pen. Yes. I'm going to start another auto pen controversy. Yes. Agile Monk says, I've met and spent time with Stan Lee 3 times in my life. He was truly great and kind man. We had a video of, I mean, it's not like it's up any place, of my nephew, Cameron, talking with Stan Lee. So, yeah, it was kind of cool. Yeah, Stan Lee was, from what we could tell, we ran into him a few times. We really didn't have an opportunity to really get into like a discussion with him or anything like that. But I will be honest, the last few years of his life that we ran across him, there were always like handlers surrounding him, kind of steering him. And I absolutely mean no offense saying this, but the last time we saw Stan Lee, he looked pretty confused. Well, he wasn't exactly sure where he was at. So anyway, but yeah, he was supposed to be, with the public, pretty good guy. Now, working for him, bit of a different story, depending on who you would talk to. I know Steve Ditko had no love lost for Stan Lee, but still. Two sides every coin, right? That's how I always look at it. Two sides every coin, just like the whole Superman thing, right? Simon and Schuster. Not Simon and Schuster. It's oh crap. Now I forgot their names. How the hell did I forget their names? Well, I gotta be honest, I'm more a Marvel guy than a DC guy. But the two creators of Superman, they got screwed over. I mean, they sold the rights to Superman to Detective Comics for, what was it, like $350 or something like that. But after the first Superman movie came out, or Siegel and Schuster, yeah, that's why I'm thinking Joe Simon, Marvel Comics, not actually, funny enough, not the publisher, Simon and Schuster. For some reason, I was thinking Joe Simon because I was kind of thinking Joe Simon, Jack Kirby, and what they, had said about Stan Lee when Stan was a kid and how he was kind of a pain in their ass. Yes. But I was going to say they received more money. And then it was like, okay, we're not going to bother you again. All right, you've paid us now. And then they would suddenly turn around and, well, I shouldn't say it was they. It was, I thought it was Siegel, who was the guy who was more like constantly pushing Warner Brothers for more payola. Not to say that they didn't deserve it. I'm not saying that. But I mean, it's kind of been made out that, the two of them got $350 for Superman, and that was the end of it. They never saw another penny. And I guess Joe Siegel was not an easy man to deal with either, from what I've heard. But, you never know. I mean, the comic industry, especially back in the day, was just absolute cutthroat. And it was, it's kind of getting like that now, where it's kind of just, work for hire and that's it. Whatever. Kevin R. Smith says they get the impression Lee was better to Kirby than to some other people, but he stole a lot of credit, allegedly. Oh, God, W. Ford says, let's not talk about Bob Kane. Yeah, let's not talk about Bob Kane. Oh, you mean the creator of Batman, Bob Finger? Check that stuff out. Yeah, the early days of comic books is actually even into the 60s, early 70s. Pretty interesting stuff. There is an audiobook I love. I'll listen to it usually every year. About once a year, I'll bust it out. In fact, it's probably coming up to about the time I need to listen to it again. And it is the 10 Cent Plague. And it is mainly focused on the campaign to clean up comics because of a lot of EC comic covers and things like that. Pretty wild. But as far as was it Kevin R. Smith saying that they had thought Stan Lee was kinder to Kirby. Yes, it was. I heard he and Ditko didn't get along all that well. That there was a lot of, button heads together and things like that. Kevin R. Smith says they saw a video of Kane's treatment of Bob Finger a little while ago. He was a jerk. Yeah, and Bob Finger, as far as I recall, died kind of like in a flop house, like a rundown apartment with no friends or anything like that. So we know Bob Finger created. Oh, that's right. It's Bill Finger. Thank you, Max Apocalypse. We know Bill Finger created the Joker. That's pretty much a given. But Chris Leonard says it's the topic that they really don't know much about. Pretty interesting stuff. There are some good books out there. You always got to take some of the stuff with a grain of salt. Just, you always got to keep in mind, does the author have an agenda here? So I'll give you a great example. I'm getting ready to share my review of High Noon at Midnight from Monty Cook Games. And I have read quite a bit about the Old West. And there is a book that I picked up years and years ago. I no longer have it. But it was actually very difficult to find. And it was about gunfighters. And it was very contrary to what is kind of a given, right? So according to this book, like Wyatt Earp was a sleazebag and criminal. And we know he wasn't exactly squeaky clean, but it made the cowboys in Tombstone where, they were misunderstood and all that stuff. It was kind of like, So everybody who was like an outlaw, they were made to look better. And those individuals that were in this book about the, who were like lawmen, Texas Rangers, things like that, tended to be more, they weren't really as good as they came across kind of stuff. And I was like, Keith Lewis said they heard Wyatt Earp cheated at cards. Oh, I'm sure he did. He owned a bar. He owned a saloon, and they played, I think it was Faro. I think they had Faro tables there. All righty. So, Chris Leonard is trying to derail our conversation here in chat as usual. We're talking comic books, and Chris is like, let's talk Star Trek, the original series. All right. So tonight we're going to dive on in. We are going to take a first look at World of Battlezoo, Indigo Isles. From Roll for Combat, we're going to be looking at the 5e edition. We will do so in just a few moments. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
Ever hear of a gift certificate that turns into a soft drink? Oh, it can happen this Halloween. When you give out McDonald's Halloween gift certificates, kids take them to McDonald's and they get a McDonald's soft drink. Oh, what's that? A book of 20 Halloween gift certificates costs only $1. And can turn into 20 regular soft drinks. It must be the magic of Halloween.
Nobody can do it like McDonald's can.
Nobody.
I, Speedy McGreedy, have created Frankenstein Mouth.
I want juicy burgers.
We'll go to Hardee's.
Burgers are juicy and hearty.
Right, Ivan. Hardee's job roils them.
Let's say hello to Hardee's.
Hello, Hardee's. Well, hello.
It's Halloween time. When you buy a burger and soft drink at Hardee's, you get a coin to put in the fun machine, which gives you a Halloween prize.
I got a creepy crawly Halloween thing. I got a Halloween ring.
The fun machine at participating Hardee's.
Make Halloween fun with one-stop shopping at Woolworth or Woolco for your Halloween needs. Costumes from $1.83 to $3.99, like $6 Million Man, Bionic Woman, superheroes, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, and a new favorite for girls, Holly Hobby. You can get wrapped candies of every kind, bubblegum, lollipops, fun-size candy bars. Get this Halloween record, sounds to make you shiver, just $1.89. Make Halloween fun and easy. Make just one stop at Woolworth or Woolco.
That trailer sort of reminds me of trailers nowadays. Because giving a little too much away there. I have to say, that Hardy commercial with that, what was it, Incredible Machine, something like that. We didn't have Hardee's in the Chicago area. It's like we didn't have Burger Chef. That was another we didn't really have. But as kids, we used to go on vacation twice a year. We would go down to Florida for spring break and, well, you know, like grade school spring break. And then we would normally we'd go out to California for our summer vacation, stopping in Las Vegas. And I remember going as a small kid, I was maybe 8, 9. And we were someplace and we went into, it was either like a Hardee's or a Burger Chef, something like that. And they gave you a coin to put into their machine and you got like a little penny toy out of it, just like that commercial. I was like, hey, wait a second. Yeah, Tessie Treggy says, twice a year vacation. What kind of luxury is this? Yeah, and we grew up pretty much middle class. Our parents owned a house. Dad worked as a machinist. My mom worked, most of the time she only worked part-time, but like in real estate, stuff like that. Yeah, used to be able to do those kind of things. Just, you know, having middle-class existence. Not so much anymore. Captain Infinity Time Travel Police is with us. Says for a few months back in the 1970s, they lived in Fort Lauderdale. Good times. My uncle actually lived in Boca Raton, and that's where we would go. We'd go down there to visit my uncle and his mother-in-law. And, well, my aunt lived down there. She passed away from cancer when I was a pretty small kid. So most of the times that I remember going and visiting them in Florida, it was my uncle and his mother-in-law. But yeah, well, pretty good times. Pretty good times. Yes, Kevin R. Smith says in the 70s, a lot of factory workers could live a middle-class existence. Well, my dad was a machinist and he repaired machines, so he wasn't necessarily a factory worker. It wasn't like working on, like, you know, the conveyor to like plucking chickens and stuff. All right, so we're going to take a look at World of Battlezoo, Indigo Isles. But first, as with all of the live streams, I always like to give a shout out to our Patreon members. So big thank you to our $5 tier members, Gustavo Cavalho, Jason Lawman, Caval, Kevin R. Smith, Sean O'Donnell, and Talzek. Our $10 members, Dan Webb, GameCat, Kevin King, Pete Strakulich, RPG Munch, Tessie Trekkie, and Tier 2 DM, as well as our $25 tier members, Agile Monk, Matt W., and The Madman. Thank you very kindly. It is much appreciated. So tonight, we're going to dive on in. We're going to take a first look at World of Battlezoo Indigo Isles from Roll for Combat. This 305-page hardcover with PDF carries an MSRP of $59.99. If you want to grab just the PDF alone, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG. I believe normally it's $39.99. It is currently available for $29.99. And yes, we have Stephen from Roll for Combat hanging out with us in chat. So if there's anything you've got a question about, well, at least about this book, you can fire away in chat and ask. All right, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Indigo Isles. Not to be confused with Indigo Girls. Before we dive on in, do want to mention my friends over at Roll for Combat were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this first look with you. It's very important you know that. And we're also not going to look at each and every page of this book. Now, you might recall I did review Jewel of the Indigo Isles. It was a while ago. And I thought it was really interesting. And I'm the first to point out, and I'm going to mention it again, I'm not a fan of anthropomorphic animals. It's just not my bag. But this was still pretty cool. And that's the kind of setting this is. Let's take a look at the back. Set sail for the Indigo Isles. With World of Battlezoo Indigo Isles, you can immerse yourself in this strange and unusual island chain home to creatures and races like nothing you've ever seen before. Explore each island and their settlements, full of new playable ancestries and heritages for you to play and meet. Player-friendly plot hooks and story ideas. You'll also find new character options, cute familiars, a brand new family of wild dragons, the legend of Old Woody Magic Brew, and more. Toothless is joining us in chat. Good to see you once again. All right. So let's dive on in. First thing we'll do is take a peek at the credits page. A lot of folks work very hard to bring this to life, so let's give credit where credit is due. We have got quite a bit of content in here, so we're going to start off with a map. We've got some tour guides. So I'm going to take a guess. That means we probably have different characters, maybe kind of narrating or providing their take on each of the locations. We have Ancestries of the Isles, Gold Crop Isle, Bluebell Isle, Moon Shadow Isle, Runaway Reef and Other Islands, Dragons of the Indigo Isles, Faiths of the Isles, Indigo Isles Familiars, Indigo Isles Character Options, and looks like we're going to wrap up with The Legend of Old Woody. Might out of the gutter, folks. So here we've got the map. Something we can just tackle right off the bat. As with just about everything I've ever seen from Roll for Combat, the production quality is excellent. Nice, thick paper stock. You see the inks pop. They really do. They have a vibrancy that you do not necessarily see in products from other companies out there. So very nicely done. Here's our tour guides. Yeah, okay. So as Steven says, yes, each chapter is written by a different character, I think is what Steven meant to write. It's like Rick Steves. So is it Rick Steves stoned or is he sober? William King is joining us as Julius Harris is the voiceover actor you were thinking of. Yeah, the African-American actor. Agile Monk says, good old Woody the Wabbit from the Meatballs movie. Okay, Ancestries of the Isles. We have and I'm going to mispronounce just about all of these. Gamaeans, are among the most populous of all people here on the Isles and certainly stand out even here due to all the colorful plumage and rainbow eyes. Surely you've seen some by now. They're the folks who look a bit like small bipedal parrots. Thanks to the fame of Poppy von Barnacle, you'll learn more about Poppy von Barnacle in Jewel of the Indigo Isles, because you're going after their treasure. Poppy von Barnacle, the gilded pirate, and the royal red feathers who rule over Rumplank, Gamayan have earned an important place in the history of the Isles. Then we have the Kragraks, people you see who look a bit like rocks, sand, volcanoes, and those sorts of things. They've been around here the longest, and they're deeply in tune with the elemental power of Earth, as you might expect, as well as some sort of fancy secondary element that varies from Kragrak to Kragrak. Hardriggans, folks with ram horns and features, live by their own power and ability with a bit of a might makes right attitude that can lead to bullies and heroes both, and more besides. Their unique social structures, called columns, reflect this fixation on the dynamics of power hierarchies, with the most powerful at the top of the column, demanding tribute and fealty in exchange for lending their strength to protect the weaker Hardriggans below. The Chichori might be a bit less common on the Isles, but that's because most of them live in the nearby oceans. They look like they're made of coral, but that's because they are. Just like coral, their biology is pretty different from the rest of us. That can sometimes lead to misunderstandings. You can find sprites all over the Indigo Isles, and while the little fairies might be familiar with the mainland, you might not have heard of the Galtsagori race that predominates the sprites seen here. They love to build things, they're quite good at it. Their attitudes are completely different. Look out for their telltale ladybug wings and hook spears. So we also have some leshies. We have the Orpoks. I remember them. They're kind of like pig folk. The folks who look like humanoid pigs are newcomers to the Isles, though they've made a big impact with the city of Seaview on Blue Bell Isles. And if you believe the wildest tales of fringe Orpok historians, they might have been present on the Isles in the ancient past. We also have the Baku, which are Fae. They descend from minor shapeshifters who traveled here as refugees, though nowadays they only change in specific ways. Turns out the joke was on them, and our world was an even harsher place than the one they left to come here. Even so, whether through stubbornness or lack of choice, they stuck around playing pranks, throwing parties, and generally sticking together with each other while being wary of other races. Benag are the rabbit people, and we also have the Zol. Those are salamander types. So now we're going to get some information about each of them. I'm trying to remember. I don't believe there are humans in the Indigo Isles. I thought there was like humanoid races, but I for some reason I didn't think there are humans. I could be wrong. I might be misremembering. So as you can see, each of these new species are getting a lot of information here. So it looked like we had about 10 pages. There you go. Steven says humans are super rare. Because I think there's one on the cover. Right there. I'm guessing. All right, so here we got those rabbit folk. So I'm going to start skipping more pages. Tell you what, as an example, let's start with one of these. All right, come on. Can we find something that's easy to pronounce for crying out loud? Okay, here we go. The Gamayan. All right. You might love art and music in all their forms, but especially in one or two specific forms. Express deeply conflicting emotions, sometimes at the same time. Harbor a particular distrust of moral compromises and slippery slopes. Others probably consider your vibrant coloration distinctive or aesthetically appealing. Underestimate the extent to which your life is shaped by the conflict within the great song. Make assumptions that you are some sort of bird folk and will simply act in an avian fashion. Get some sample names, we'll get some traits. Physical descriptions, alignment in religion, talking about society. Some background, so we've got chronicle reclaimers, demon hunters, iris celebrants, whimsy dancers. So Roll for Combat says it's Gamayan. All right, okay. Yeah. It's not like it's a real world word, Stephen. It's okay. Yeah, it's fictional. Tessie Trekkie says, just because I want to play an angry badger man with a Scottish accent doesn't make me a furry. Concept just appeals. All right, so then we get the Gamayan feats for 1st, 4th, 8th, 12th, 16th level. So as you can see, we've got a lot devoted to these various different species. Just think, I mean, other third-party, content creators out there, third-party publishers, when they float out, like a new species, they're usually you get, like 4 pages. So you're getting quite a bit. We get some new leshies too. The Orbach. Or I don't know, Stephen. How do you pronounce it? Orpak. Giving me a hard time. Well, that's it. We're done looking at this then, Stephen. I'm not even going to try. I already made an attempt at that pronunciation. That was enough. There you go. This is where I go. The School of Ignorance. Wow, we're still in the ancestries. Okay, so now we're going to start getting into the Isles. So we have Gold Crop Isle. Steven says, okay, so I was correct with that one. So Kevin R. Smith says, if you want it pronounced correctly, put the phonetic pronunciation next to the name. Zodal, I guess I was kind of close on that one too. Ahoy, adventurer, whether you come to the Indigo Isles seeking fame, fortune, or personal fulfillment, you've set yourself on the right track by picking up my guide. Ignore the naysayers who claim that exploring the islands is a fool's errand or try to tell you that Poppy Von Barnacle has done it all here already. As a harlequin dragon, only I get to declare who is and isn't a fool. So we'll get a brief history of Gold Crop Isle, the geography. It's like we'll start getting into some notable locales. Yep, people and culture, points of interest. Drowned jungle. So it looks like we're getting info about different peoples and cultures on the same island. As you can see, very nice artwork throughout, especially if you are a fan of anthropomorphic animals. Not saying you're furries, just saying you don't mind a good anthropomorphic animal image or two. Okay, so here's Rumplank. This is where Jewel of the Indigo Isle kicks off. So we get a little bit of a gazetteer. I would take a guess that this might have the most information as far as the Isles go. It does look like this might have the most page space devoted to it, because we have some keyed locations such as the Drunken Wall. Constructed in a drunken fortnight around Old Rumplank, this slapdash mound of lava rock and clay was Rumplank's first, last, and only attempt at constructing a permanent barricade against potential invaders. Once they snapped out of their rum-fueled haze and put down their tools, not one of the Drunken Wall's constructors could recall what enemy, if any, inspired them to build the wall in the first place. The wall is worn down in the decades since, and these days it functions primarily as a kissing perch for love-struck youths. So remember, this is the island where the parrot-like folk live. Local folk tales suggest that within the Drunken Wall might lie restless dead or forgotten treasures, or at least a few misplaced tools. Jose Fernandez is popping on in. Says they took a break and come back to everyone becoming furries. Nobody said that. It's Captain Loudbelly. Well, got a little Ernest Borgnine in him. Yeah. Now we're on Bluebell Isle. There we go. Why does that look? I don't know why this just jumped out at me. It's like, why does that suddenly look like it's like a Nazi? Like, what? Wait, what? Yes, I see there's epaulets and stuff, but still, for a second, I was like, what the hell? Blonde hair, scar. Like, what's going on with that? As far as Jewel of the Indigo Isles goes, looking at this artwork, you would think to yourself, oh, yeah, I'm sure this is, real lighthearted and kind of silly, and not necessarily. I mean, there were some fairly light portions, set pieces, things like that in the adventure campaign, but there were serious things going on too. So Stephen from Roll for Combat says, no, she is Miss Agatha Trunchbull. No, I wasn't. I was just saying it looked like a Nazi uniform. I wasn't saying, what are you throwing Nazis in here? So we are still looking at Bluebell Isle. And of course, just taking a look through this source book, you don't necessarily have to go buy Jewel of the Indigo Isles as far as adventures, because I guarantee we have got loads and loads of adventure seeds and nuggets here that you can mine for your own campaigns. Here we got Runaway Reef and Other Islands. Look alive, you lily-livered air dweller. You might have proved your talent for barrel racing. You put on a good show, I'll admit. But it takes more than that to impress Captain Newport Stonebar. So if you want to know about the reef, you want to know about the reef, do you? And all the other islands the air dwellers can't tell you about on account of they haven't heard of them? I don't know if I want to tell you, but you've come to the right place. First, I want to hear why you're after that knowledge. Then I'll decide whether or not I plan to tell you. So, some info about the Indigo Sea and Runaway Reef. That's pretty cool. I like that artwork there. So we get little nuggets about some of the smaller islands. The Isle of Whispers, Silent Sanctuary, Siren's Lament. Okay, so little octopus with a snowman. Xpocalypse says the page border is fun too, as well as the art in the book is amazing. Steven says those islands are designed to be easily dropped into any campaign, and half of them were designed by Kickstarter backers. Now we'll get into the dragons. So we do have some new dragons, because the fine folks over at Roll for Combat are just fascinated by dragons. So we had Amber Dragon. They're among the friendliest and most approachable of dragons. They're charismatic, welcoming, and adore making friends. They love to chat, are fluent in numerous languages, and always know something useful. They're excellent listeners, always ready with a patient ear and kind encouragement, prodding those they socialize with to share whatever they feel the need to. Often seen as harmless gossips, Amber Dragons are far more cunning. Oh, I've got a cunning dragon, me lord. And manipulative than they're given credit for. Oh, well. Says the Amber Dragons are more than chatty busybodies. They're manipulative rumor mongers who adore nothing more than learning and spreading rumors. They have no interest in whether the gossip they choose to spread is true. Hey, that sounds familiar. Cerulean Dragon. They are the trailblazers of the dragon world, the delvers, the dungeoneers, and the explorers, charting paths and blazing trails through lands unknown to them. All right. They're filled with wanderlust and a passion for travel. So are we getting a couple of pages for each? No, we're getting 4 pages. We've got the Harlequin Dragon, who I believe one of our tour guides was a Harlequin Dragon. They're the ultimate comedians. Clever. Yeah, I already did my Blackadder gag. And insightful jesters who match wits with the world, playing lighthearted pranks while sprouting cunning insults. Well, there's another cunning. Witty quips and hilarious jokes. Despite their obvious frivolity, a Harlequin Dragon's jests contain deeper meaning, often shining a spotlight on societal idiosyncrasies, logical fallacies, and personal truths. They're also incredibly insightful, and they pride themselves on being able to assess people, situations, and even social mores at a glance. So Keith Lewis says, a Harley Quinn dragon, literally daddy's little monster. There's the Indigo Dragon. Indigo Dragons are social butterflies who love to celebrate and party. Do we have any evil dragons in this book? Outside of the rumor-mongering dragons, those Amber Dragons. So they love to celebrate and party. They're boisterous, exuberant, fun, and always full of energy and spirit. They're bombastic and bold, both in action and in emotion. They experience larger-than-life emotions, express themselves without shame or hesitation, and encourage the same openness and freedom of expression in those around them. Charismatic, kind, and welcoming, Indigo Dragons are charming and make friends quickly, often, leaving a positive impression on the various people they meet, even if only in passing. So we got the Vermilion Dragons. They are fabulous storytellers. Now we get the Faiths of the Isles, so we'll get some different deities. It's probably one single pantheon, I would guess. Some popular gods of the Isles. I have to say, this is pretty in-depth. Nicely done. Of course, I will have a review of World of Battlezoo, Indigo Isles in the not too distant future. I'll tell you what I would love to see from Roll for Combat. I know we never would, but I think it would be so cool if one day we saw Roll for Combat devote the same sort of production quality and depth into like a sword and sorcery source book. Because most of the Roll for Combat stuff is quite a bit more light. Now, I'm not saying, I'm like, oh boy, I wish Stephen would do a grimdark book. No, I mean, I would like to see something which was, even if it was just a one-time deal, something that was aimed more towards classic fantasy. Not necessarily saying it's got to be Hyperborean and things like that, but still, here's our familiars. We've got a seafoam spirit. That's pretty cute. Ember sap ooze. Quite a few of those. All right, so we get our character options. So we can have pirates, a booty finder, womp, womp, womp. I know, treasure, right? Steven says, we are doing that. It's called Deathbringer. Yeah, but isn't Deathbringer going to have more of a Shadow Dark sort of look to it? Isn't it going to be like black and white or grayscale as far as artwork and things like that? And it's going to be like an A5? I don't know, because, we chatted a little bit about that at Gen Con, but not a ton. So we've got some, you can be a Toxicant Sentinel, a Rumplank Reveler. Oh, Steve says, no, it's color. Okay, cool. Well, like I said, we didn't really have an opportunity to really talk too much about it. So it's grimdark, but in color. Well, it'll be dark colors. And yes, if you are not familiar with the upcoming Deathbringer, it is Steven's teaming up with Professor DM for this because it's something that he had been working on for years, I guess. All right, but we're not here to talk about that. We're taking a peek at World of Battlezoo, Indigo Isles. Once again, this hardcover with PDF is available now. Carries an MSRP of $59.99. If you just want to get the dazzling full-color PDF, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG, normally for $39.99. Right now, I did see that it is $29.99. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. All righty. And like I said, I will be sharing a review of World of Battlezoo, Indigo Isles in a bit. As you can tell, 305 pages. I'm not going to be able to rock through that all too quickly. It's in the queue. It is now entered into the queue. All right. So, I'm trying to remember, what was I planning on looking at on tomorrow's show? It's like, because I was straightening some stuff up down here. And, because I actually have a shelf where I'll put stuff where it's like, okay, this needs first looks. This needs reviews, right? And then as I, move through, I'll like take it. Oh, okay. Like, so as an example, this will go over on the review shelf. Not that it sits there forever. I'm just saying it goes up there. So I don't have tons of stuff just stacked, in my bedroom or anything like that. So anyway, so I straightened things up and then I was like, wait a second. What the hell were we going to look at tomorrow? I'm like, I know we're looking at Indigo Isles tonight. Like, what did I say that we were going to? I don't think it's not Traveler Highguard, because that was what I mentioned last week. And then I thought, well, that book's been out for a while. Since it's now October, let's try to take a look at spookier stuff. Well, whatever I said it was going to be, we're not going to look at that. We're going to take a peek at Black Powder and Brimstone from Free League Publishing. Yeah, this is built on Mi'kmaq, or as the uninitiated like to call it, Morkborg. And we will be taking a look at this. And yes, it is like horror and demons and so forth. So perfect October book. And then on next Tuesday's show, we're going to take a look at the Old Gods of Appalachia from Monty Cook Games. And we're going to follow that up on Wednesday with Dig Your Own Grave, which is from that. Sarah D says Imperium Maledictum Inquisition GM's Guide was the original plan. I'll tell you what. I'll leave it up to you folks in chat right now. You can vote. So do you want to see Black Powder and Brimstone or the Inquisitions, or I should say Inquisition GM's Guide? I'll give you a minute. And then what I'll do is I'll share a standalone first look video this weekend of the loser. So I'll give you all a moment to chime in. And then look, nobody's going to chime in and be like, I don't want to see either one of those, Jeff. What are you bringing us this crap for? And suddenly it's like some furry book. Well, what's going on? What's wrong with you, Jeff? He said it's not furries. It's anthropomorphic animals. All right. 1 for Black Powder, 2 for Inquisition for my friends over at Cubicle 7. 3 votes for Inquisition. All right. Give another few seconds here, but it looks like it's going to be the Game Master's Guide for Imperium Maledictum, the Inquisition GM's Guide. Thank you, Sarah D, for reminding me. I just had a crazy day. Every day is crazy. I had to go first thing this morning, take my mom to her eye doctor appointment where she gets these injections every month. She can't drive, so I have to drive. Oh, look at this. Tessie Trekkie says Powder. No, it's 3-2. 3-2. Anybody else want to chime in? Anybody? Bueller. You know, I wonder if like younger people watch this. I doubt it. But you know, people in their 20s and probably sit there and think to themselves, what the hell is this? What the hell is this? I got a clever plan, me lord thing. What the hell is that? Viewer, what the hell is that? Huh? Sarah D says, I can look back at yesterday's show for a refresher during the stream. It's a bit harder for me. Yes, that is true, Sarah. Very, very true. All right. So we will take a look at the Imperium Maledictum Inquisition GM's Guide on tomorrow's show. Oh, now Agile Monk decides he's going to chime in to tie it up. Too late. Snooze, you lose. And then I'll do a standalone video for Black Powder and Brimstone. Last thing I wanted to mention, well, I talked about it. Yes, Agile Monk knows I'm talking about Ferris Bueller. Of course. Kevin R. Smith wonders how many people use the Bueller line without knowing what it's from? I would take a guess there are a lot of people out there who use like catchphrases who have no clue. Sarah says in the past week, they learned their coworker does not know what Reading Rainbow was, which is actually coming back on PBS. It is now with LeVar Burton. It's going to have a new host who Pauly Shore is. Okay. That I don't blame people for. And Miss Frizzle. Is Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus? See, that's past my time as, watching children's TV shows. But for some reason, it rings a bell. Yeah, all right, there you go. Nice. I used to be one of these people, not so much anymore. But I used to be one of these people, you could mention a movie. Like a movie that was, out in theaters, or maybe had been out in theaters like a year prior, that I had not seen, but I would still have an idea of what it was about. Because I was a voracious movie review reader. Pete Strykowitz says they told their boss they needed a Ferris Bueller day to meet them in the parking lot and we'll be back never. She loved the idea. It didn't happen, but it was a romantic thought. Nice. All righty, everybody. That is it for this time out. If you're watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, tip of the cap to you. Because not only are you keeping me company, you're also keeping each other company while I'm sharing the news or I'm flipping through a book full of furries or anthropomorphic animals. I keep telling you, folks. Man, gotta separate. They're different. They're totally different. But I know a lot of folks out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you for taking time out to watch any of the over 2,300 videos here on the channel. I really do appreciate it. It means a lot. It really, really does. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube. It'll also inform you when I share other videos, such as my recent glowing review of the Cypher System Rulebook from Monty Cook Games. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thank you very much for watching. And as always, I certainly hope every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.